is used to create indexes on the table. Indexes are used to retrieve data from database more quickly than otherwise. Uh, the users cannot see the indexes. They are just there to speed up the searches and queries. So as I mentioned, searches on the text will always be slower. Searches on the um, integer valued keys is much faster. But having said that, keep in mind, for example, the customer table, we have only 12 records. We will not see the performance difference because the speed is is very optimal for only 12 records. But if we have millions and uh, actually billions of records, in there when you search, the search will take, or results of the query will might take you 5, 10, 15 minutes, and that's probably not intended. Particularly if you are not searching by the primary key, if you are searching it by the name. Name could be duplicates. So when you search on a name field or a text-based field or date of birth, in millions and billions of records, there will be so many people who have the same birth dates. And if you're searching for the people who have that birthday, you will still have slowness. Same with the name. So dates, text-based values, all those fields will not be fast. And we have seen in data structure course on programming too, how the text-based searching happens, or how the text is being matched and parsed, because we saw a couple of algorithms off of that how the matching of the text is done. So it could be the whole text is matching, but the last character is different. Then it will not be considered as a full match, and it will disregard that record. Even if it's a complete match, it has to go through all of the characters, and even the final character, and all the characters have to match exactly the same to find that same exact key, and then it will find a record for us. To overcome that, uh, SQL Server provide, and actually SQL Server, Microsoft Access doesn't, but Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, and Postgre, they all provide creating the uh, indexes on certain fields. So once you create the indexes on the certain field, the background work is done by the database management system itself. You only create the indexes, and once you create the indexes, you will have the faster performance. I remember one time when I was searching through a lot of records in the live environment, there was no key created on a particular search that I was creating. So I had the same replica table that is available to me in the development environment. So I temporarily created in the dev environment without changing anything in the live environment. I looked at that if I can create the index on this field, will it improve my search, because it's right now taking 10 to 20 minutes to run this query. So I did that, and then I asked my manager, can I create a query? Can I create the indexes in the live environment? And yes, sure enough, I was able to do that. But it all depends upon when you are creating the query. If the query is slow, query has no logical or syntax error. It is just a retrieval of the data is causing the slowness. That's when you will create the indexes. So for these exercises that we are doing in class, will not see some performance differences. When we will be on the uh, When we will be on the other millions of billions of tables, which we don't have, unfortunately, in this examples that we are doing in class. If we have, then we will have uh, performance issues, and we can rectify those performance issues by creating the uh, indexes. So at the moment, right now, I don't have any index, but let's say if I have an index that I want to create on the last name column, on which table I want to create it on customer table, and the column name is last underscore name, and I want to create the index on that. So I said create index IDX, just a prefix for index underscore, on which column I want to create last name. I can name it whatever I want. I can say cust underscore last name or customer underscore last name, or just leave it as a last name. So IDX last name. But the only thing with this, keep in mind, if you are creating the index on the sales rep last name, then you cannot keep the same name, because two objects cannot have the same name. But let's try that out, because I haven't conflicted that much. But let's say that if I create the index IDX last name, I think if you go in indexes, the index will only applies to the particular table. But let's see that. So there is already an index created on the customer column on the primary key. So remember that every table that has a primary key, and which we always have, every table will have a primary key, will have the indexes automatically created on primary key by default. Then you might be asking why we need that. So in the tables where we have a foreign key, this primary key as a foreign key, then we might have duplicates. And when we have duplicates in that key and we don't have a primary key in that table where we are searching for the foreign key, then we will definitely need the indexes there in the foreign key tables. But here, if I just go ahead and learn this one and create this, I'm able to create. And let's say if I'm saying refresh, and if I go trigger, indexes, now I have a now I have a index created on the last name as well. So if I'm searching by the last name, I will have a faster results, particularly because if I'll be searching with the with only your ID or your driving license number, I will have a very fast access to your record. But if you don't remember your driving license number or ID, then I will be asking you what's your last name. And then if I have 20 different records come up, maybe I'll ask you your first name afterward, after I see the result, and say, hey, I found your record. But this is the search by the last name as well. Let me see if I can create with the same query on the sales rep last name column, but I'm going to change it to this tables to sales underscore rep. So yeah, my theory was okay. So for the customer table, we have the ID IDX last name, and same thing with we have index created for the last name for the sales rep. It's nice to know, if it's nice to keep something like that with the table name, that you know you are creating on which table, so you know which table it is, so you're not mingled. But if you look at this in the hierarchical structure of the tables here, you can just simply see that yes, we have the indexes available for this, and we have the indexes available for the sales rep table as well. So this is the only purpose of creating the indexes. So if I go back and look at this, if you want to create the index on the combination of columns, yes, you can create, and you can list the columns within the parentheses separated by columns. So yeah, you can create a full name or person name or P name or L name, LF name or something like that. You are creating the index, and then you can create the index on those. You can also drop the index as well. In different databases, there is procedure to it, and this is as much as it is mentioned in W3 schools. Uh, so creating index, using the index, and dropping the index topic is covered now. What is the purpose and advantages of it? You can read it out from here. It's a one-liner precise answer that it helps to speed up the query. As simple as that. There could be some other reasons to be mentioned in the book, but I will leave it to you if you want to read it from the book. What is the purpose of it? Let me see what's in the book for this. I'm just going in the book if there is anything else. Otherwise, I will move to the next module. Just taking something for my notes so I don't forget it. So creating the views. So in module 7, you will see some topics like you can create views. That's what I'm looking at. Security features. Yes, grant permissions. I have gone over that in the class. Indexes. We're just creating indexes. Dropping the index. Creating unique indexes. When you have a unique in front of it, it means that on that column, duplicates will not be allowed. If there is already, if there are already duplicates, then you will not be able to create the index on that. This one, you will have duplicates allowed. So that's the only difference. Yeah, so that completes this module. Database administration. This is a very small level of database administration. It does not cover the database backup, the database restoration, and all that. A lot of things has to be played around. If you are a database administrator, you have to bring the server down, you have to bring the server up, you need to do updates and patches to the server. All that is not mentioned in here in the book, but that's okay because it's a introductory level knowledge that you have. Database administration and SQL Server have a different certification. So this is a field called, looks like a sequence field. You want to create, so first of all, not null, and you say auto increment, meaning it will automatically create that and starts in counting by 1 and increment by 1 for each new row that has been added. So when you say that you want to have a integer not null field and you want it automatically to be incremented, it will automatically, when you will be inserting the record into this, you don't even have to mention the person ID. You will just mention the first name and the last name. It will automatically know that for the person with the created with the integer and not null and with an auto increment feature, it will automatically create that for it. So you can either do this by auto increment, or you can also do this by saying I want it to be an identity field. Identity means a unique field with starting with 1 and increment by 1. So 1, the next one will be 2, the next one will be 3, the next one will be 4. So in MS SQL Server, it uses something called, this is for MySQL. In SQL Server, it's a little different. Here it is person ID is not null, auto increment. Here it is called identity with 1 and by increment by 1. You can make it 1001 and then increment by 1, meaning that next time you will add it, it will be 1002, 1003, 1004. Or you can say, no, I wanted to start from 10 and the next person will get the ID 10. So first person will be 10, next person will not be 11, the next person will be 15. After that, next person will be 20. After that, next person will be 25. So each time you will increment, it will still be a primary key, but it will give a gap of 5 people in that field when it is creating that. Same with Microsoft Access. Ideology is the same. You have to create, this is called sequence. You need to do some extra juggling in Oracle for this, but other than that, you do have to go through this first, and then you can create you can use the sequence.nextval or whatever. But it doesn't take much long for you to understand what is the difference between auto increment, sequence, identity. They are all the same, but different verbiage in different SQLs that we have. So let's move on to the topic of triggers, which is under the module 8. Module 6 quiz you guys have done. Module 7 quiz I will take the day after tomorrow, which is on Wednesday 31st. I will take that. Understanding the topic of triggers. So let me just keep open myself window on the side so I'm not going to make mistake, because I don't think again that W3 school has that. I don't think so. These are some advanced topics, that's why are not included in W3 schools. For the most part, we are done with W3 school SQL course. So triggers, what are triggers? Triggers means when one event happen, what's the consequence of that, or what operation that we want to perform after that event happened. Typically, what are the events that we are doing? We are going to select the records for which we don't need a trigger. We will be doing insert, update, and delete from the database table. This is called CRUD operation in general terms. So SQL Server CRUD operation. CRUD operation. CRUD operation in SQL Server, which is called create, update, and delete. create/insert, read, select, update means update the record, and delete. Back in the days, we don't used to have this kind of terminology with the evaluation of uh, new technologies and programming languages. They have just they have just uh, give me the knowledge. Yeah, there is something called, they call it CRUD. So if you hear something in the job description CRUD, you might be thinking, what does that mean? Well, CRUD is creating the creating the table, inserting into the table, read, update, and delete in SQL Server. Typically, these are some of the operations that we perform on database. When we perform insert, we can have a trigger. When we don't worry about read or select. When we perform update, then we can have a trigger or we have an action happening. When we are deleting something, then we have some action happening on a table, which is actually changing the data of the table. We can do some further operations that if this happens, please let me know, or please insert or create a log of everything. Remember, there was a field that I created called last update record or something like that. That field is very important field that can help you know what happened to the record at what time or when this record got inserted. But today, with the help of trigger, we are going to do something new. We are going to say create trigger. So create trigger means we are going to see if there is an operation of insert, update, or delete has happened on this particular table, then please do some other steps. What are those steps? We will see that. For example, one of the steps that I'm going to give you an example is when a record is inserted into this table, please log the date and time and who inserted that record or who edited that, or um, what's been done. So please create not only the table but the history of the table as well. So we want to see, we want to keep who is doing what with the table, kind of thing. So we'll say create trigger, and we'll see that when I'm going to be explained. Create trigger, and I'll just say tr underscore on which table I'm going to do. Let's say easier table is customer, and I'll say for insert. When the insert happens, and this is just a name of the trigger, so don't worry about this. I'm going to show the keyword, the actual keyword that will come on. Okay, so on the table, what's the name of the table? Dot customer. For which operation I need to do? I want to keep a lookout for insert. When the insert happens on this table, so this is just a query that I'm writing. I'm just going to explain it in a moment. So create trigger, I'm going to mention the trigger name. I can name it anything. I don't want to need to definitely put for insert, but it's good to know which kind of trigger you are creating. Basically, what kind of trigger you are creating? You are creating for insert trigger. And on which table you are trying to create? On the customer table. You are going to create it on the customer table. When you select this, basically when you say for insert, basically there are three tables in SQL Server which you don't know. One table name is called inserted. Second table is called updated. Third table is called deleted. Let's start with inserted, deleted, and then we'll see if we have an example for updated. Later on, if I can find it on the internet, I can paste it for you. These are the three operations that we are looking out for. So there are three tables that SQL Server has in the background, but you are not able to see those tables. What are those tables? I'm going to say that so if I'll say declare, I'm going to show a small example here. So I will translate this into that today's date. I'm just giving you an example and I'm going to use it in a moment in something else. And I'm saying select enter date today is equals to get date. Yeah. Let's look at these three lines. This is not the thing that I'm going to be using in here, but I want to show but I want to show that this is uh, a very useful thing that we'll be using in this inside the triggers. So I can create the variables just like I do in any programming language. I'm saying declare the variable which is named as today's date, and the data type of it is date. Then I said put the value of get date in which variable? Today's date variable. So select will actually put this get date value and assign it to which variable? At the rate today's date. You might be asking, we cannot do like this? No, we cannot. In SQL Server, you have to say assign the value to a variable like this. There's another way which I'm going to see. I haven't used that for a while, but this is my preferred way. And then the next line, you are printing today's date. So it's a kind of a debug value. It's not showing you the result of the query. It is just showing you the message print. And I am saying print me the value of the variable today's date. And it says okay. So in the second step, we did assign the today's date value into the today's date variable. I can make it today, date and time, no problem. And now if I run this, it will show me actually the date and time both at the same time. But that's not the point. My point was to show you that yes, you can declare a variable, you can assign it a value, and then you can print that variable. So taking that to a higher level a little bit for the triggers, I'm going to create a variable called when the record is inserted, I want to capture that. So I'm going to say when the new record will be inserted, there will be a customer ID that will be created, right? There will be a new customer ID will be created. So I want to capture that. So I want to store it in a variable called ID. And let's say, I think it is char3. That's what is the data type of this as well. Let me confirm. Yeah, it is. So I want to capture that. So as I mentioned, there are three tables. So now that table is coming into contention in the next line. So I said, I want to know, and I want to store that new ID that you are getting in a variable from which table. I want to say, I want it from the whichever is inserted, if it is, once it is inserted, I want that one, the one that is just recently inserted. So I'll say dot customer ID. So I want that newly, sorry, I want to have that newly entered customer ID. And as I said, there is a temporary table that keeps the log of the very newly inserted customer ID. So I wanted that one, the very last one. From which table? Inserted table. What's the name? As soon as I was typing it, it actually showed me that there's a table called inserted. And it says that, yeah, I promise that whatever the new ID that is just recently inserted, the last one, I'm going to put that into which table? Into which variable? Customer ID. And coming from which table? Inserted table. So similar idea, get date, when I write, it is actually SQL Server variable or SQL Server predefined function, actually the right word to say, that is putting this value into this variable. That's the same thing I'm doing. I am saying that from the inserted table, get this value and put it into which variable? Customer ID variable. So when I say this, I can do this insert, and I want you to keep your eyes open on this because I'm going to write something customer underscore log. And I'm going to create this table because this table does not exist. But right now I'm just saying that I'm going to create a column when I will say I will create a column called log values. So keep that eye. I'm going to do this operation in a moment. I'm going to create a table called customer log, and I'm going to create I'm going to keep the that in it. And let me do one more thing. When I will be creating the table, I will use something called identity, which we just learned in the previous when I was working on the there. So I will work on that. So I'll just keep that values, and I say I'll gonna say uh, new employee added plus, and I'll say, because this is a whole text value that I'm going to add, so I'm just going to cast it at the rate. Remember, it is already a character, so I don't need to cast it. I will say that I want to put that value at the rate cust ID plus, so new employee added with the space this on date, and I'll say plus on date plus get date, and then this. Okay, one thing I did not mention, after as I will need to say begin. This is the syntax that I need to adhere to. So I have few errors in here, but we'll just keep a focus on that, what I'm trying to do. Basically, when the new ID is inserted, I am going to create a new table called customer log, and in the log, I want to enter a statement mentioning that a new employee with the customer ID is added on this day, right? So this is a new table that I'm going to create right now. I'm going to say, okay, let's take the advantage of the topic that you're looking at here. So in the SQL Server, I'm going to create a new table. I'm just going to copy this, and then this is just my demo that I was showing you, so I don't need that anymore. I'm gonna push it down a little bit and then say create, and create a table called customer log. Okay, so there's a new table called created called customer log identity, and I will say that log ID. So primary key, that will be a log ID. Obviously it's a primary key, so it will be working, and I don't need too much information. I'll just say what's the next column that I'm focusing on is the log one. I don't need to mention log ID column while I'm inserting it, because SQL Server will automatically take care of it when I will be inserting the record in this table. And let's say and I will increase that. So get rid of this part, and I'll say log. And because the log is keyword of SQL Server, so I have to do a parenthesis on it, and I'm going to remove the additional 2 columns because I don't need them at the moment. So I am going to create a new table with the log ID starting with primary key 1. Let's make it increment by 5. So start with 1, increment by 5. So next one will be 6, I think. Let's see. I think it's increments by 1. So let's put this table on. This table is on now. You can click refresh. I have a customer log table that is being created. So it should not complain to me anymore, because if I have refreshed it, but I don't think so that it has registered it here. So I'll just say, if you can register it, please. Yeah. It is not showing me that table right now. So that's okay. I'll create this trigger. The trigger is also created. Now, once I created this trigger, same thing applies. If I go to the customer table, I find I expand trigger. There is a new trigger that is being created. Same thing like in stored procedure. Now, if I want to change something on this trigger, I will always have to do it with an alter. Once created, always have to alter the object that you are working. So let's start, and let me see if I can create an insert query to insert into the customer table. So let's say if I can go back and open, hopefully it's in my recent files. If it is not, yeah, it is not in my recent files, but I'm going to say I want to create a new customer. So I'll just gonna cheat one new customer that I want to create, and I say I want to create a new customer, please. And I'll say Control V, and I'll say I want his ID to be 300, Joe Smith. Leave him to the 7th Street, and this ID, and then whatever his is. So once I will do that, it will actually insert this record into the customer table. But at the same time, this newly inserted record will have the record log created in the log table. So let me push this now, and let's see if it creates that. So I will be checking that if the log is created for it, and which table I need to refer to. I will need to refer to the customer log table. So as soon as I will go and run this query, it will now do 2 things. It will insert this new record in the customer table, as well as it will run this trigger, and trigger will say, okay, what I have to do? It says that, oh, that newly inserted record, I need to pick up its customer ID and put it in which variable? Customer ID variable. And I need to print out this statement into the log column and saying that the new employee is added with on this given date. So let me just push it and then say compile. So I will have a nice space. Let's hope for the best if I'll say insert. So it says that procedure TR for insert line 7, I have an issue. It is not able to convert date and time into this. So I will just say that, okay, it did actually insert it, but my trigger, so insertion to the customer table is okay. If I'll go here, I will definitely see which one I inserted. Number 300, 300. So 300 is not inserted as well. So do I see? Yeah, I don't see 300 being inserted into the customer table. So because of the trigger failed, nothing else happened. So we need to fix the trigger. So where is the trigger? I'm going to cancel this out and go into this. And it says that I'm not able to convert this date and time into a string, and that is fine because the value is a string. This value is a string, but this is a get date and time. It is date and time, so I need to cast or convert into a varchar. So that is the only mistake I need to fix. So now it will be, but after I make a small change, I need to alter it and make sure it is being saved. So that was a logical error. There was no syntactical error. Logical error was that it showed me that it was trying to convert this whole into a text, but it wasn't because this part is a date and time field in general. And then I converted it in there. Let's start and insert this. Yeah. Oh, now I have two rows inserted. Okay, I understand this one. It went into which table? Customer table. Okay, to make sure, I can go here and run this query again. 300 is inserted here. Correct. What else has happened? Why it is informing me that two rows are inserted, one for that and one for that? No surprise, this trigger also triggered get itself at what time? When the insert has happened, at that same particular time, a trigger has happened, which is trying to insert the record in which table? Customer log table. So let's go ahead and go and open the customer log table. If I open up the customer log table, a new log is created. A new employee was added with the 300 on date May 29, 2023 at whatever PM. And that has just recently happened. So now, beauty of it is that I will have a complete log of new employee added. I can create another trigger on for delete when the employee is deleted, and usually I say don't delete the employees. Usually update the employees or insert the employees. Don't delete your records because then you will lose the information about it. Usually disable the employee or usually inactive or make them inactive. That's the thing. Deletion is there for you, but I like to have updation of their statuses instead of deleting them, because then you will lose the information for that whole employee and then you have to recreate everything. So what is actually happening? It did whatever insert is went on in the inserted, it actually picked up the customer ID and put that new customer ID into which variable? Customer ID variable. And at the same time, it inserted into which table? Into the customer log table. And this ID field will automatically be inserted for you with and the value of the log will go into the log column, and then it says that new employee added with the customer ID and this. So you are now in full control of what has been happening, which employees are getting added at which date and time, and then you can say that okay, who actually entered that employee, so we can have that kind of information as well. let's see if I can find something in that trigger. SQL Server current user name. Let's see that if I have that. There's a variable called username in here in SQL Server. Okay, let's pick up that guy. Select Control V. I think it is called @ not at the rate. Yeah. So this is @ If I'll just say that, it will show me. I'll have to fix this. Yeah. I'll have to be. I want to make it a little bit more nicer. Okay, yeah, it's on W3 school. So select @ username. Oh, select this username. Okay, so I don't need to have an @ symbol at all. Okay, nice. Why? W3 school is ditching me. Okay, let's pick up this one. I'm just trying it out. Okay, DBO. Okay, what's inside this one? Guest 0 should be me then. Public. I don't know how many users are there, so I have to check it out. Yeah, here you go. My name is here in the number 5th. What's in number 4 then? Just curious. System. Okay. My name is under number 5. Okay. So I'll just say, I can make it more nicer, remove the slash and get rid of everything in front of it. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. On date plus by the user and I need to give some spaces in between, so make it look more and more nicer. So it will going to be creating this for me. Oh, not this one. Actually, I should be using this one. I just did that. I can hard code my name, but I don't want to do that. I want to do this one plus the username. Hopefully it works. And then I will update this trigger. Trigger is now updated. I'm going to add another guy. Smith. Taylor Drive, whatever. Taylor Drive. And give him some extra $20 or something. Okay, let's add. Main purpose is to see if the trigger works. So let's do this. One row is affected, second row is also affected. Let's go in the, we know it will be inserted here at all anyways. So 301 is added. At the same time, in the same motion, I have another log created and I have to just expand it by the user this. So we can find the culprits who added those. We can find who deleted it. We can find who updated it. We can find why you updated it, why you deleted it, why you inserted this record, right? We can ask all the whys from that agent ID now. So now we have triggers for which I can one action is doing 2 inserts. One is that, and I can do this. All the customer ID is being added, right? Customer ID, this number is being added. I can pick up any other thing else. I think I can pick up, I can say declare @ name @name varchar 50, and I can pick up balance, I can pick up credit, I can pick up anything. Okay, so don't be afraid of that. And then I'll say select this from inserted. If I can, I don't recall. Oh, I think I can do this. I'm just thinking out loud here. And I want to pay name. I want to say what's the name is equals to not just the cust ID, last underscore name, comma. Then I can say I want to concatenate here. So I'll just say whatever his name is. I'm slow because I haven't done this for a long time, so I'm just very cautious and not to make mistakes. And first name. So now this will go into the name, and I say new employee with the new employee added with this customer ID and name plus, and then I will be very cautious again that I am going to put my variable name very carefully, plus, and then I'll say I want @name in here. So now my all the variables that are inserted, so that inserted row has everything: customer ID, it has customer first name, it has last name. Everything of that row that is getting inserted is available actually in the inserted table for me, and I can utilize that because that has been changed, and I'm going to put that in there. So I'm going to execute it one more time. I'm going to add one more person, 305. This is getting added, and remember I did 1 and then 5, so the next row will be number will be 11 for the identity log. I will not be able to change it now, which is a little bad because I would have gone on. I was thinking it will end up at 5, but I should have put it 4 here. So it's all the game of numbers here. So now I'm going to add another, let's put a Kim Smith or whatever, and give him different email, and yeah, whatever, it remains it. And then I'm going to insert a new row is inserted. So I'm trying to improve my process. That's okay, the new row is inserted, I'm not worried about that. But now if I run it, a number 11 is created, and it says, yeah, sorry, there's an extra plus that I need to get rid of, but new employee 305 with the name Smith was created on this day by this and this day guy. So now trigger is very helpful for me that I am able to create some triggers on the table. So there is an extra plus that I added. I'm just looking at it. Yeah, here's my mistake. I need to remove this extra plus, save it. Now this procedure is saved. Now this trigger is saved, not the procedure. So I can do this on insert statement. Behind the scenes, you are only, or your developer, if he is passing out the data from a web form or from any other operation, he is sending out just this information. You are actually capturing more log at the database end, that what has happened to that record, what has happened to that person. You are getting little bit more insight of that new record. From the front end, people will be just sending out this insert statement. They don't know what is actually happening when the record gets inserted, because this is put it on the table, not at the front end. Now, this makes the life of the developer so much easier over there, because you can have a concurrent table that if you have a customer record that goes in the customer table, you can have the customer record in going into the customer to table, which is probably located on some other site. Yes, you can do that. So you can have a trigger that can do that, but your triggers has to be in sync with the table over on the other side. But that's a difficult topic to explain. At the moment, we just learned that we can create triggers for the insert. Let's see if I have an example of deleting a record. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this, add a new tab. And let's see if I'm able to quickly change it to insert. Instead of insert, I'm going to name this is going to be a name of the trigger, which is not really a matter, but at the moment, because we are following that standard, I'm going to say that when the delete operation happens, for delete as begin from this table deleted. Remember this? Yeah. Let's just close this. From deleted, I want to see where is my inserted. Yeah, so if there is an inserted one, now I'm going to have a deleted one. Insert into the customer log, and you can say that deleted employee with this ID and this name was deleted by Kashan Khan at this time. So I'm going to, because I'm creating it for the first time, I'll have to change it to the create trigger, and create trigger is created. Now if I go onto the customer table and if I hit refresh, I have two triggers, one for delete, one for insert. This is just a name. This is basically is capturing everything. So now if I'm going to delete an employee, which I'm going to delete now, so I'm going to say, so this was for my creation of the log data table, which I'm not going to use anymore because it was done once. So I'm just saying delete from dbo.customer where customer ID is equals to 305. That guy will be deleted, but once it will delete it, it will trigger this delete trigger, and it will still create a log in the customer log table. So let's do this. Okay, so one row is affected in the customer table, the other row is affected in the log table, but this time this trigger is not infected. This trigger is taken its effect, and now if I run this, deleted the employee 305 with the name this by this person, by this date on this time and this time. So log is a very useful tracing back of your information. We actually, when I put that last edit on column, when I was removing the duplicates, I was actually creating a log, a side information on the side, which is not really, which has nothing to do with the actual data too much, but I created that a small log within the customer table. But that doesn't tell me too much about it. That just tells me that this record has been last edited on this date. This log has more information attached to it, that yes, 305 was created, but 305 got deleted. Same way, if I delete 300 or 301, I will have a log of it also telling me that this has happened, this has happened. I can see the timeline, what day, because right now everything is happening today because I'm going through this lecture, but because the timeline is today, we are not, but in the business scenario, you might have a different date that it was created. It might be deleted on a different day. So you might be able to see, oh yeah, this record was created on this date, but this record is also got deleted on this date. Why? I need to investigate. What ticket number introduced that? So you can put a lot of information in here, that what ticket number was triggered to call this. So this is the purpose of trigger. If there's a mostly the insert and um, that let's see if I want to just do a last one, which I'm not finding in my slides. But let's say if I want to create another trigger for update, I think it is called update. I haven't done this one. Usually I'm a very manual for update. Hopefully it likes that. I might have to look for SQL Server trigger update. So it's not available on W3 schools. And then I will want to create. So meanwhile, I'm looking for it. I want you to create a trigger for me, please. I'm going to write a trigger. So while I want you to create a trigger for me on a smaller table. I don't want you to get confused. So let's say, yeah, there is 3 columns only in here, but I want you to create a trigger for the invoice table when the new invoice gets inserted. I don't need to type it. You now know what you need to do. You need to create an invoices log table in which you will have all these ingredients. You'll need to understand that you need to create a table, create with an identity. What does this mean? You now know that I can get my name of the user with this 5 in there. It will show me my name. And I want to show, and I don't want too much information. Just say to me that invoice ID, that invoice ID number was created on this date by this user. And I want to keep it under the invoice log table. So create that please for me. I want you to create trigger for at least insert for now. Don't worry about deletion. Deletion is very easy. I actually just went on in here. I changed it to a delete, and then I change this to a delete just for me what operation I'm doing, and then I put the log of that. So I want you to create the trigger for the insert and delete while I'm looking for the trigger for the update one. Okay, so I'll just have to find the correct syntax for it. I haven't done it, but I will show you. So you guys keep working on that. I'm going to work on that. Any progress? I have a little update on this update trigger. I'm trying to do something else here. Just trying to enhance one. You guys are done. Let me know. I'm just trying to enhance my update function. I'm already done with it, but let me know where you guys at. So I have something else ready to be shown to you, but I want to know first, are you guys able to do what I have given to you? Okay. No one? It's not that difficult of a topic. All right, I'm not going to do that for you guys, but I have moved on and I created an update trigger for you. So when the customer record will be updated, so after update, same thing on dbo.customer on the update, but the table name I think is staying as inserted. That's what I am looking at. I am tempted that it should be changed to updated, but it is not. Let's leave it at that. So this trigger is created. Let's go ahead. I'm going to close some extra tabs that I have here and try to update. So let's see if I want to update the last name of Jackson. Let's do that. Update customer. Let's see how it behaves, because update customer set last name is equals to Jackie, where customer ID is equals to 375. So I have updated that. Basically what I'm doing, I'm trying to do that is that first one was the easier one. The second one I'm going to explain afterwards. In the first time, what I'm doing is when I'm trying to update the trigger, run the update trigger, I said, okay, pick up the first name and last name and make sure you change it from deleted to an update, and just show the message that this guy was last edited there. So that's what I'm going to do. If I go here and update this guy, let's see what happens. So update trigger has actually triggered. Now let's look at what's happening here in the log. Updated 3.5, updated the name of 375, and the name is changed to Jackie Melanie on this day by Kashan. Right? So this is showing me the name got updated by which person and what date and time, and for what's the name change. And obviously it has been written in the customer obviously as well. What I wanted to do is actually, when I'm logging in, I wanted to go one step ahead. I wanted to say that I want to show in the log what was the previous name and what was the current name it is being changed to. So I said, and I can do it for any other column as well. Updated this and this and this, whatever you want, whatever you have changed, you can put as much information in here. And this can be a customized statement as well. Whatever is changed, you can just only log that, and you can have if else or case when and whatever in there you want to put in. But at the moment, just leave it at that. And I want to change this because I have this already. I cannot create it, so I will just alter this one. So if I fail with this one, this is my experimental one, and I'm going to temporarily change this one to this one, having the same name, but I'm putting some more meat in it just to check. So if I'll say update, okay, and this time I'm going to say the same thing. For this same guy, I'm updating the record. Instead of 375, I want to change it to Jackie. Jackie for the customer ID 375. What I am trying to insert, first we'll see the insert statement and then we'll see what happens. So let's run it. Okay, so now it has ran, but it will have a little bit more information that I wanted to add. Okay, this is much better. So now if you look at this one, I said 375 with the name from Jackie to Jackie. I think I have missed something in here. So I wanted to get the previous last name stored in here, and this thing should be before update. Instead of after update, it should be before update. But anyways, we'll see that. What it has happened, it has gone on and updated that in the table. When it came here, it says that Jackie name is changed to Jackie. That is why, because it is happening after the update. If I would have put it before update, maybe that will be a much better one to have. Let's see. But there's nothing called before update. Anyway, so leave it at that. After update, I wanted to have a little bit more nicer. You see what I'm trying to achieve here is that I'm not going to do it right now, but I changed the name from Jackie to Jackie. I want to say it Jacky to Jackie on this date. So I will have a log. So I have to do some corrections here, but this is much more meaningful update query than just changing that this person has been updated. But you got the feeling of it now, that what is the purpose of having triggers. Now I have 3 triggers on this one. If I'll say refresh, definitely I need to have 3 triggers: for delete, for insert, for update. And I created 3 triggers successfully on the customer